So my name is Semra, as I said. I work as a project officer at NAWAS, and I coordinate NAWAS Academy, specifically the Introduction to Gender Mainstreaming at local level e-course. Today with me is also Ms. Kristina Hadjivasileva. She is the gender expert, or the person who facilitates the course and the one that gives you feedback and is the expert on the content of the topic. Today's topics will be, I will give you an overview of how the course functions, what are the modules, and how to find your way around the platform. And also, Kristina will give you an introduction to the topics that we'll be discussing over the course of the next 4 weeks, but also a discussion given the current situation and the pandemic, what are its impacts on gender equality, respectively, how it affects men and women differently. I'm going to share my screen with you now. Can you see my screen? Good, perfect. Before I go into the details about the course, I will give you a brief overview about NAWAS. NAWAS is a network of association of local authorities in Southeast Europe. It brings together 14 local government associations, which are our full members, but also we have 7 associate members outside this region. These local government associations represent roughly around 9,000 local authorities and 80 million citizens. The role, the main mission of NAWAS is to promote the process of decentralization, enhance the role of local government, strengthen the local government associations, and aid them in the process of offering improved services, but also support them in the process of EU integration. One of the services that we offer as NAWAS is the NAWAS Academy. On our academy, we currently have 7 e-learning courses. This course was developed by NAWAS, but with the support of UN Women and GIZ. And the objective is to enable participants to act both as individuals, but not only, and also as representatives of organizations that work on enhancing gender equality. Our target groups are decision makers and practitioners, and administrative staff at local level and the local government associations. Now I'm gonna yield the floor to Kristina, where she will give you more input and meat on the topic itself. Kristina, go ahead, please.
To unmute, okay. Thank you, Semra, and hello, everyone. And I hope you're having a good working week so far. The reason that I'm starting to say a few things about gender equality is because the topic of the course is gender equality and gender mainstreaming. But before you start the course, I thought that maybe at this introductionary webinar, we should at least clarify the main, let's say, definitions, so that we all start from the same starting point. And that is to basically delineate or define the difference between sex and gender. So I don't know if you know it. I mean, it's already there on your slides. But I think it's good that we know that sex refers to the biological and physiological characteristics of a person, while gender refers to socially constructed roles, characteristics, positions, activities, which the society considers adequate for men and women and determines the social relations between them. And of course, this is something that you will have in the first module of your course, but I thought that it's important that we start with it even now at the webinar, and then you continue with the course with at least some basics in your head. So what I think is most important for you to remember is that sex is given at birth, while gender is acquired through socialization, thus creating a sort of gender, framing a sort of gender identity. So gender, what is gender identity? Can anyone tell me? Do you want to say something about this? Do you have some ideas? Or I don't see anyone volunteering to say anything. Okay, so gender identity is this set of agreed roles, behaviors, values, attributes which the society considers appropriate for men and for women, and assigns them certain roles in that regard. So luckily, this gender identity varies depending on the time, the culture, the geography, and this is one of the reasons that we can actually impact and change these gender identities. This gives us freedom to be able to make a change and to move these identities forward. So these gender identities basically provide certain roles for us in society. And it's something which I'm sure all of you have experienced. This gender identity where it's created, where the society, through different means, provides certain recommendations and teaches you how to behave. So if we can have the next slide, Semra, and you can see here through the graphic what it expects of men and of women, of boys and of girls. I'm sure that you have all heard all this advice from your family coming first. That how you shouldn't for the boys that they should not cry because they're boys, and for girls to help in the household because they're girls and they need to learn about these things, or to behave how they to take a note of how they sit, or to be well behaved. While for the boys, it's okay to be naughty, as this is what boys do. So I'm sure you have heard all these let's say things in the family, and then they are also maintained in different institutions, in schools, media, through media, into organizations in which we function, and in this way they're institutionalized. So they're not written anywhere, it's just they're transferred to different aspects of life and of society. So if you can have the next slide. Yeah, so these roles are basically based on very simplified notions of how women and men should be. How they should behave, what their characteristics are, what their skills are. So they're very simplified images of men and women, but they are very often the basis of expectations and perceptions. How you're expected to behave in a certain way, to look a certain way, and this is also not only for women but also for men. So there is this perception and expectations about perceptions. So these stereotypes in the end influence people. They influence their behavior because people want to be part of the society and they want to adapt and conform, and of course they conform to these stereotypes. And this is why we're talking about gender equality. When we're talking about gender equality, we're talking about equality of both men and women, and referring to equal access, distribution of resources between women and men. So basically, gender equality means that it demands equal visibility, equal empowerment, responsibility, and participation of both sexes in all spheres of public and private life. And it's also about accepting the differences between women and the different roles they play, and the diversity in society. So we're talking about equal access and equal distribution of resources. So how do we achieve this gender equality? And you will see this in the module, because one more, we're talking about gender mainstreaming in this course, and this is basically a mode, a tool for achieving gender equality. So we believe that gender mainstreaming is a strategy, a right strategy towards realizing gender equality, and it means including gender aspect in all spheres of life. So here it is in the definition, it's basically into preparation, design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies. But basically what we mean with gender mainstreaming is that we want to see the gender perspective in all spheres of life in order to promote equality between women and men and to combat this discrimination. So I don't know if you have any questions or any comments on this. Please, if you do, you're welcome to say something. If you have any personal experiences, but your microphones are mute, please unmute them in order to say something. Alexandra, were you saying something or did I just?
One of my colleagues.
Okay, sorry, I saw you
Mouth
opening, but I couldn't hear you.
Mainstreaming.
Okay. Okay, well, anyone else to comment or to say something maybe about these messages that you've been hearing as children, or maybe you're still hearing some messages that are given to you as to what you should do and what you should not do because you're a man or because you're a woman. Do you have such examples to share? No? Okay, well, you can think about them and then you can share them in the course. Semra, back to you now. Are you going to say to Semra, are you going to present this about the Nalas or should I present it?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so why we decided to do this course, and this is you can see this, I don't know, you can see this infographic here presenting some of the data for important for NALAS. This is something that NALAS is doing, collecting data on the local governments and local government associations. And what they found out is that, for example, only 8.4% of the mayors in Southeastern Europe are women. And I think that is a very significant percentage that really is very indicative and shows us the need why we're having this course. Also, almost 30% of the municipal councillors in Southeast Europe are women as well, and this is not such a low percentage. However, we should be aware that most of it is a result of the quotas in the election code. So even if there were no quotas, then probably even this percentage would not have been attained in many of the countries. Another very indicative number is the percentage of the presidents of NALAS, local government associations. So 86% of them are men. So very few women at the top of the local government associations in the countries which are NALAS members. And as you can see, of course, consequently, in the local government associations, administrative staff is predominantly women. So it means the women are doing all the work in the associations, and very often in the local governments as well. And on the top, on decision-making level, are the men. And these numbers are very, let's say, showing this very explicitly. So this is one of the reasons why NALAS decided to take up this issue of gender equality, and it's working on it not only through this gender course, it's doing it through other means. But for the course, this was, let's say, one of the wake-up calls to say, okay, let's do something about it. Let's at least raise the awareness about the issue of participation of women in decision making and in the policies that the local governments should be developing, that they should take into account both genders. Now, of course, we are impacted by something different. This is the COVID crisis, which we are starting to deal with now, and that as a result, I'm sitting in my kitchen, as you can probably, or you're probably aware, and you can see from the video. So we're working in different ways. Many of us are not working even, and so in this kind of situation, usually people say, so why should we take this course? Why should we talk about gender equality when there is, something bigger going on? And this is a very it's much larger issue than now talking about gender equality. So I kind of wanted to say that even though we're dealing with such a crisis, this does not decrease the importance of the course and also of the issue of gender equality. So what is one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, how does the COVID crisis impact local governments? Can you share something maybe from your municipalities or from your cities, towns? Because I wrote some things here like budget, organizing work, social protection, communal issues, but what does it mean for you in your countries? What has happened with the budgets, for example, or the municipal budgets? Has COVID impacted them? And how? Can you hear me?
Yeah, very shy participants.
Very shy participants. Because one of the things that, of course, obviously is impacted immediately is the budget of the local governments, right? We see that the municipality now, because of the companies being closed, because of people getting laid off out of work or just not going to work, earning less, the revenues for the municipality are decreasing. So this is a very important aspect for the municipality to deal with. And not only are they decreasing, but the expenditures are continuing to be the same or even increasing. So the municipality still has expenditures that it has to deal with. And this is something that very often requires a reprogramming of the budget. And of course, very often it can take from very important investments to deal with the immediate crisis, right? So a lot of reallocation of funds for things that maybe citizens were hoping would happen. Regarding the budget, educational events were cancelled or postponed. They represent part of the incomes of our association. Yes, this is also very important for the associations, especially. Yes, because your also revenues will be decreasing, and probably the municipalities cannot maybe even pay their dues as members of the associations. They will probably ask for some decrease or maybe for some postponement, etc. So this is a very important issue. Also the organizing of the work, because now the municipality will have to reorganize its staff, how they work, where they sit, where some of them are organizing it, at least here in North Macedonia, they're doing it with shorter hours or on how do you call it, this turnaround basis, where people come in for a couple of days and then the rest of the time they have to stay at home. But not all municipalities, I would say very few municipalities actually can organize the work in such a way so that their staff works from home, because of access to different information, different technologies that are necessary, and not municipalities are not prepared for this. So another issue is the social protection, which is now increasing because the most vulnerable groups are now at even higher risk, and the municipality has to provide this kind of protection for its citizens. and these are very often the people who are, let's say, single parents, people victims of domestic violence, homeless. So this, a lot of money has to be redirected towards the elderly as well, so to support these groups, which it usually does support, but now it has to increase this support. And this, of course, does not decrease the local government's responsibilities. They still have to do their work, right? They have to continue providing communal services. They have to provide collection of the waste and water supply, and to repair some streets, etc. Now even increased responsibilities to disinfect the streets, to disinfect the buildings, maybe hand out masks and gloves to citizens. So these issues are continuing to be responsibility of the municipality and increasing. So on the other hand, how does this reflect on the gender issues, on gender equality? So I have put some areas like economic, health, unpaid care work, gender-based violence, government measures. Do you have any experience to share, or something that is happening in your municipality which takes into account the gender aspect? Still everybody very shy?
I think Siwa has something to say.
Okay. Can you please unmute?
Yes,
Okay.
she's unmuted.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Shayla, and I'm from the Association of Municipalities and Cities of Federation of BNH, and my colleague Nermin is here as well. One of the issues that I hear a lot about in our country, the schools are out, so the children are at home. So now the particular issue is we are slowly going back to work. And the issue is with the children who are unable to stay home by themselves or attend the video courses by themselves. So that's another issue, and it's mostly impacting women. Basically, as you said, the roles that women are put in, they would have to stay at home and take care of the children, and at the same time, they have to go to work and provide for their families. So it's a huge issue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for pointing it out. And this is what I have put under unpaid care work, because I was also participating in a mapping exercise, so to call it, mapping assessment of for UN Women, and we asked 21 municipalities. That's not a big number, not a representative number, but still quite an indicative number of municipalities, to share with us some issues on COVID and how it impacts gender in their municipalities. And we asked them about what is the impact of different measures on men and women in their municipalities. And it was interesting to hear that the biggest impact of the measures that influenced men were closing the restaurants and the cafes. There was more impact on men's lives than on women's lives, this measure, and also the curfew. And also the closing of the sports centers. While for the women, the biggest impact was this issue of closing the schools and the daycare centers. They were much more impacted by this, which means that they took on the burden of the care and schooling of the children. And also for them, it was we have this measure in Macedonia for compensation of salaries for one of the parents of children under the age of 10, which means that if a family has children under 10, one of the parents can stay at home and take care of the children, and they have to receive full salary. And if in most of the cases, let's say majority, I would not say 100%, but I'm thinking it's almost 90%. In cases it's the mother who stays at home, the woman who stays at home to take care of the children, and they receive this salary instead of going to work. So you are very, very right that this unpaid care work has really made a huge impact on and increased women's burden in the house. What about the economic aspect? What do you think about that? Is there a difference for women and men here or not? Because I think you can even see it here, but I put it in pink, this quote of one civil society organization from Albania, where they say that women are economically at higher strain than men with the pandemic, as they're usually either unemployed or they are employed in very let's say low skilled jobs, or the jobs which are not secure jobs, which are seasonal jobs, and of course they are the first to take the blow, let's say, of the economy. And this is something that she gives here the example of Roma women in Albania, and I'm sure it's almost the same here in our country, because they are engaged in informal work, they are not registered, they are invisible to the institutions basically, so they are not in the official database of unemployed, and they cannot even claim any benefits or any state aid. And this is an issue of Roma women, but I know that it's also an issue of a lot of rural women and a lot of women with very let's say very poor women in the urban areas. In terms of health, what do you think is the issue here with women and men, the difference?
Before we go health, I can say something regarding the economic structure in Turkey.
Okay.
I am from Turkey and working in a project right now, and we are working with the municipalities and the municipal unions in Turkey. Not all of them, but some of them. And
Okay.
we know that in terms of general picture, employment rate of women in Turkey is quite low compared to men. So with the COVID, they will be affected even more. And so the unemployment rate of the women will be even higher compared to before COVID situation. And also we know that in the informal sector, women are occupying the higher percentage. So the informal sector is the one who hit it more from the COVID, because people in the informal sector are not covered by any of the social benefits that the government are providing. So women are somehow more affected from COVID in that term. Of course, the other vulnerable groups are also affected, such as migrants, because they are also in the informal sector. But women, especially the rural women, are the most affected group to me.
Yes, thank you, Chidam. Yes.
No problem.
Thank you for this contribution. And then here as well, when we asked the municipalities who are the most, let's say, vulnerable groups that will be impacted by the COVID, where we could see a big difference between women and men in these groups, it was the group of single parents, where majority are women. It was the group of elderly, and it was the group of victims of domestic violence, which are also predominantly women.
Yeah, the domestic violence figures in Turkey also higher, because some of the domestic violence offenders are now out of jail in terms of COVID restrictions or precautions, and they go back to their homes, and the domestic violence vicious circle starts over.
So why are they at home? Why were they
I
released from
don't know.
jail?
And because they are now free, they can go anywhere they want.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can go direct to gender-based violence, and I have the example of Turkey, data that I read about 21 women murdered in the month of March in their home in her home in Turkey. So this is information from Turkey, but it's also all around, and it shows also the direct impact that this has on women in that the pandemic has on women who are victims of gender-based violence, because now they have to stay at home with the perpetrator, and they have difficulty to ask for help because of the proximity of the perpetrator, and it's also something that decreases their possibilities to and access to support services. One thing that the civil society organizations in Macedonia managed to do was to loosen, let's say, the restrictions for women going out after the curfew if they are victims of domestic violence. So they can leave the house even though it's curfew time, and they will not be prosecuted, and they will be provided with help because of the situation. So this is one little thing that can maybe alleviate the situation, but it does show how different pandemic affects them. In terms of health, what do you think the impacts are in health? Because the number of people with the virus, affected by the virus, is more or less the same. Let's say men, women, there is no big difference in who gets the virus. It does not choose by gender. But what do you think is the impact in health sense? Hmm? Well, what we are seeing, I think, is that in the health sector, the impact on women is bigger, and the burden is also bigger, is because many of them are employed in this sector, and most of them are nurses, employed as nurses. So the men are, let's say, the doctors, the women mostly are the nurses, and they are at the front line of dealing with the pandemic. So this brings about issues of being, let's say, mostly they have the biggest opportunity to be affected by the virus, to catch the virus. They are the issue of burnout because they're working around the clock, as there is a lack of medical personnel in many of the countries, and this puts them at different, let's say, levels of impact from the pandemic compared to men. Do you have anything to share also here on this health issue? No? Okay. Unpaid care work, I think we covered that with the schooling, with increased responsibilities in the family, taking care of the elderly, doing the shopping, the cleaning of the house, etc. And also those who still do work from home, trying to maintain some kind of balance between all those responsibilities. In terms of government measures, I think I covered it a little bit with the gender-based violence, but it's also about how these measures need to take into account the different needs. And one thing I wanted to share with you is that when we made this analysis in the municipalities, one of the questions we asked was whether the let's say, persons responsible for gender equality in the municipalities were involved in the decision making regarding the measures that the municipality will undertake as a response to the COVID-19. And it was surprising to hear that very few of them were included. So it means that when the municipality was making decisions about budgetary allocations, about undertaking locally measures to support certain vulnerable groups, etc., or undertaking any other measures related to COVID, they were not asking the gender specialists about their point of view and their recommendations. And this is something that, of course, afterwards impacts their policies and their actions and what they take up as measures. And this is why I think that it's important to have this, to take into account this issue of gender equality, even when you're dealing with situations of pandemic. Does anyone have something to share, or some let's say experience or some comment on this? No, nobody. Okay, so I stop here. Semra, I'm going back to you. This is just to kind of motivate you more for the course, and you have a chance to read more in the course modules.
Thank you, Christina, for the very interesting presentation, and thank you, Chidem and Shewa, for sharing your personal insights with us. Now I'm going to go into the details about the course itself. The structure of the course is as follows. It is organized in 4 modules, and each of them lasts 1 week. The first module gives you an introduction to what gender equality is. The second module goes in details about gender responsive budgeting and why it is important. On the third module, we work on the local government associations and what their role is at promoting gender equality at local level. At module 4, we have best practices from the region of what local government units have done in promoting gender equality. We have had 4 deliveries of this course so far. This is our 5th delivery, and I can share with you that it's the most successful NAWAS e-course and most loved by our participants. Why online learning? Why we at NAWAS believe that online learning is very important and at pace with modern times, but especially if we take under consideration the limitations that we have now, I think it's the perfect time to join such a course. With this type of learning, you can organize your own schedule, when you read the materials, when you answer them, when you answer the tasks that you have to do, but also it enables you to exchange with colleagues from all around the region. We are also doing blending learning with including webinars. I will share with you that so far the experience that we've had in the 4 deliveries, we've only had the introduction webinar, which is the one that we're having now, and that was the only time that we met. However, based on the feedback that we've received from the previous participants, we kept getting comments that they would like to have more face-to-face meetings. And what we're going to do this delivery is we're going to try to answer those requests by organizing 1 more meeting face-to-face like this one at the end of the 4 weeks, so we can exchange on what we have learned, experiences and such, and test it out and see how you will like it. But more details will follow once we go through the course. The methodology, as I said, it's individual and facilitated work. So you do your own readings, you listen to the videos, you take your quizzes and participate in the discussion forums. Christina will be providing feedback to your inputs at the forum. And at the end of each week, end of each module, we'll give you a resume of what has been discussed. So first things first, how to log in. You visit the NAWAS Academy page. I will share these details with you once again via email, but just to have a quick picture, you visit this following link. You click on create new account, you fill in the information requested and send it for verification. And after this, we'll get an email with a link to complete your registration. Now, some of the times we have problems with participants not receiving this link. However, please check your spam box, your junk box as well. Sometimes it happens that the link goes there, so you don't see it. So after you fill in the information and submit, please also check your junk boxes. And after your registration is approved, you will be able to access the course. Now, please keep in mind that this is a manual process. So we have Branislav Jovanovic, who is our IT support. I will share his details with you later. He's the one that has to approve your registration based on the list that I've sent. So if you plan to register the course with another email other than the one that you firstly submitted, please let me know so we can avoid any difficulties of you joining the course. But as I said, since they take since the IT support checks for new registration, it might take some time for you to be able to log in. So if you're not able to log in just as soon as you fill in the registration, don't be alarmed. It just takes some time, but not too much. I have slides of how the course looks, but I think it's better if I actually log in into the platform and you can see the actual course. I will now. So after you go to the Nalas Academy webpage and you log in with your account details that you will receive, can you see my screen? Do you see the Nalas Academy page? Okay, perfect. You can see this is the platform. This is how the course looks. On the left side, you have the modules. So these are the 4 modules. And you click at the one that you're working on it this week. This is the main body text. Sorry, no, this is the introduction about the course. You click on the first module. And this is where the main readings are. You can move by using these arrows to the next content, or you can use the table of contents and click on each of the sections. There's also video presentations, so you click on Start Presentations, and you can listen to the voiceovers. After you finish with all your readings, you have to take a module, a quiz of that module, and also participate in the forum discussions. So you click on the quiz, and now because I have another administrative account, I cannot show you how it works to you, but it's very similar. And you take the quiz. The good thing is that this module allows you to take the quiz more times. So if you want to get higher points, you can retake your quiz. We can hear some, okay, let me try to. And you also, in order to get the credits, you are supposed to participate in the forum discussions. Let me go back at the module. It's also at the same section where the tests are, forum discussions. So these are the questions that guide your discussions. So you should give inputs along these lines, but not only. You can follow what your colleagues are also sharing. How do you add your inputs? You click on Add a new discussion topic. The subject can be whatever, for example, module 1 and your name. And I would suggest that you give all your feedback for these topics on one thread. So for example, for the first one, but I mean, this is just a sample. You don't have to do it exactly this way. And then you also have a subscription to the comments that other participants share, but I think they go to the junk box. So make sure to check them if you don't check regularly the platform, and if you want to receive them in your email. If you don't see them in your inbox, you can check on your junk and spam box. and check this, this section here. And after you finish with your answer, you just post to forum. And that's it. Okay, we're gonna have to delete that one.
Sorry if I can just
Yes.
jump in. I really kindly ask everybody in the course to regularly respond to the discussion questions. Because at the end of each module, I do a kind of a resume of what you have discussed. And it's easier, of course, if you do it on a regular basis, you know, following each of the modules instead of doing everything at the end or at some point during the course module. So please answer the questions, and also please bear in mind that they are part of the evaluation of the grade that you will receive in order to get the certificate in the end. So the evaluation, the grade is based on the quiz, but also on the discussion topics. So please don't forget to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you, Christina, for the reminder. We have a question from Anna Plavchak from the Slovenian Association on, is this page available only during a course or also after course for potential help? What we usually do, our usual practice is, although the course lasts officially for 4 weeks, at the end, we give 1 extra week for you to finish up all the remaining tests that you haven't been able to do so far. So we also allow you some free time at the end, up to 10 days where you can finish up everything. So I will be sending you reminders every week when the new module starts, and also when you're supposed to provide your inputs and on the forum discussion. This doesn't mean that you will have to do it precisely this way. We just do this to organize somehow and to ensure that you are not overburdened by the end. But as I said in the beginning, this is an individual work. So whenever you are most comfortable to finish your test, that's when you do it. However, I will be reminding you every week to expect those emails from me on Monday and Friday for each module that it has started, or when it ends, that you what are your tasks. So this is for you do this with all the modules. So for each module, it's the same drill. The main body text in the middle. On the right side, you have the table of contents, the video. You have some testimonials that we have shared as an extra. Here you have bibliography if you want to read something and learn additional information. And the test that you need to take. So the quizzes and the quiz that you need to take, but also participate in the forum discussions.
Simra, there was a question from Chidem about the forum discussions. They are open to you. They're also open to me, so I can also participate. Yeah.
Yes. It is what we're trying to do is not only have you answer the questions, but also exchange with one another. We are currently working on upgrading the platform to allow for more flexible communication. However, so far it's not available yet, unfortunately. But as I said, if you subscribe and you check your boxes, you can see when some of your colleagues provide some input, and you can answer and discuss with them if you feel so, if you have something to share, if you're going through something similar, or you have some good practices to share, feel free to do so. So this is it in general about the platform. Do you have any other questions for what we have talked so far regarding the platform and how to use it, where to find what? I don't see any comments. If not, I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Can you see my PowerPoint now? Because I have so many screens open. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Gabriela. So yeah, we went through this on the platform. These are some modules. So what are your tasks? Your tasks are to read the materials, listen to the videos, take the quizzes, participate in the forum discussions, and most importantly, have fun and learn and exchange with our colleagues from other regions as well. The grading and the evaluation process will be done by Christina once we finish with the course. And for those that meet the requirements, you will be certificated, hopefully all. For your support, I am here to support you with all organizational issues. My mail is ahmed@nawas.eu. You can contact me with any issues that you might have. Regarding the thematic issues, Christina will be there to assist you. You can reach her at christina@sdc.com.mk. And for all technical issues, we have Branislav Jovanovic at lowbudget.co@gmail.com. But as I said, I mean, I will share all this information once again with you after today's meeting. But you can always reach out to me first, and then I can connect you with Branislav or Christina. I see that we have some comments.
Thanks to Denisa.
Yes.
And I look also forward to your participation. I usually check around once a day to see how you're doing with discussion and what's going on. So, but Asenra, can you just remind us now, the first module now is from starting when to when, just to have some.
Well, officially, we say that it started from yesterday, but from today, because you'll be registering today, and it will be it will last until the end of the week, respectively Sunday. I need to check.
Okay.
But I will be sending you a reminder, an email after the meeting today. So.
Okay.
But as I said, that doesn't mean that if you have not been able to finish everything by Sunday, you cannot do that on Monday or the next week. It's just a facilitated process to make the process easier for you. I mentioned earlier, we've had 4 deliveries so far, and the testimonies that we've had from the participants are overwhelmingly positive. All of them have said that they have learned something new and that they believe that this course has practical value in their lives. And all of the participants have stated that they would recommend this course to their colleagues. Actually, I'm very happy that today we have some of these participants that were recommended to this delivery by our previous cycles participants. That is a testament to the satisfaction that they have had with the course. I sincerely hope this is the impression that you will be sharing as well. These are some of the reflections that they have shared, because at the end of each course, we do a evaluation form that I share with you and ask for your feedback in order to see what has worked, what has not, and what we can do to improve. I did mention that we are upgrading the course, but it's an ongoing process. We are translating it in local languages as well. So each feedback that we receive is very valuable. We tried to incorporate some of them in this delivery to ensure a high quality delivery for you, and hopefully you will be happy with the results. So this is from my side. If you have, thank you for your participation and your engagement. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them. I see that we have something in the chat.
Adrian has.
Okay, yes. So yeah.
Confirming what you said.
Yes. So as I said, we're working on resolving this issue as well with our IT support. So hopefully we won't have that issue in the future, and hopefully we will resolve it as quickly as possible. So now, Adrian, our IT support Branislav, once he sees your registration, he will approve it, and after that, you will be able to access the course. Any questions, comments? If not, thank you for, oh, sorry. I see something in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for being so attentive. I will be sending an email afterwards with the details once again on how to register. And we will be in touch. If you have any concerns or questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Wishing
Thank you from my
fun
side.
experience.
Thank you from my side as well, and see you in the course. Bye.
See you. Have a nice day.
Ciao.